Hi, everybody. I'm going to start reading chapter 13 in Shiloh today. The last chapter was not so good because Judd left, and Marty has about a day or 2 weeks to get Shiloh feeling better, has to return him to Judd. Let's see what happens today. So I'm not back to sleeping again. Everything I could think of to try, I've already thought and turned down. Even thought of Dad and me driving to Middlebourne and going to the county courthouse to report a man who's mean to his dogs, thinking maybe they wouldn't let Judd have Shiloh back again. Dad said that's where we'd have to go, all right. But how am I going to prove it about Judd? Think about that, he says. So I've been thinking about it. Do I really suppose they'd send an investigator all the way out from Middlebourne to see about a man that's said to kick his dogs? And if they did, do I think Judd is going to tell the man, yes, indeed, he does kick them? Do I think the investigator is going to hide out in the bushes near Judd Travers' place for a week just to see for himself? Tyler County hasn't hardly got the money to investigate reports of children being kicked. Dad says, much less dogs. Even if I told the animal rights people that I found a dog with a bullet hole in its head up near Judd's house, doesn't prove that Judd was the one that killed it. I go out to talk to Dad about it some more while he's chopping wood, and he says, son, it's hard, I know, but sometimes you just gotta do what has to be done. It's Judd's dog, and there's no getting around it. So Ma tries to make me feel better. She says at least I brought some joy and kindness into the life of a dog that never had any before, and that Shiloh will never forget me. But that even makes it worse. I wish he could forget. Keep thinking of how Shiloh's going to look at me when we drive him over to Judd's, and my eyes, they fill up again. Becky, she's been crying too. So has Dara Lynn. The one good thing about it now is that the whole family loves Shiloh, and we can talk about him out loud, but there's not one thing we can do. 3 more days, and we have to give him up. So I walked down to Friendly on Friday to talk with David Howard. David feels almost as bad as I do. I hardly finished telling him about Shiloh, and he's got tears in his eyes already. David Howard's 30 pounds heavier and bigger than me, and he still don't care who sees him cry. I've been thinking, David, I said, you have relatives in Ohio, don't you? And he nodded his head. Do you think any of them would take Shiloh? Could I call him up and ask if they would drive down here tomorrow and take him back with them? And then I'll just tell Judd that we let Shiloh out one day and he never came back. More lies. But David is shaking his head already. It's only Uncle Clyde and Aunt Pat, and she's allergic to dogs. They've had one once, and they had to give him up. On the way back home, I'm thinking about some place really good I could hide that old gristmill maybe up by the bridge. The door is past. It doesn't take much to get in there, because the top of the building is open where some of the roof is blown away. I'll bet I could hide Shiloh in there for 10 years, or make a sound. But what kind of life is that? Couldn't ever take him anywhere except after dark, and even then he would be so close to Judd's place the other dogs would probably sniff him out. Slowly the minutes and the hours of Friday, they just tick by, and then it's Saturday, our last day with Shiloh. We give him every little treat we can. And it's a wonder it didn't make him sick. And after supper, we sat on the back porch like we usually do. Becky and Dara Lynn, they're rolling around in the grass, and Shiloh, he limps out there to join in the fun. I show Becky that if you lay down on your stomach with your arms over your face, that Shiloh will work to turn you over. Both girls, they have to try it, and Shiloh does, like I said, trying his best to get those girls up on their feet. If Becky ever fell in the creek, I'll bet Shiloh would pull her out, Ma says. If I ever saw a snake, I'll bet Shiloh would kill it for me, says Dara Lynn. I got a sadness inside me growing so big I feel that I'm about to bust. That night I sleep a little bit, wake a bit, sleep a bit, and wake some more. About dawn, though, however, I know what I have to do. I got up as quiet as could be. Soon as Shiloh hears me, of course. He's out of his box. Shh, Shiloh, I say, and I put my finger to my lips. He watches me for a moment, and then he crawls back in his box as good as ever. I dress, pull on my sneakers, take me a slice of bread from the loaf on the counter, and a peach off the tree in the yard, and then I take the shortcut through the east woods toward Judd Travers' house. Now notice Marty did not take Shiloh with him. He's going by himself to Judd's. It's the only thing left to do. I had talked to Dad, to Ma, to David, and nobody has any more ideas what to do than they did before.